You got 5 seconds, Terry. Where's your flag at, Michelle? Okay, we stand for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag.
Flag.
United
of
States
the
of
United
America.
America.
Of
and
America.
to the republic
for which it stands,
And one nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
and justice for all.
Liberty,
justice for all.
For all.
Yeah, we never make an acapella. Michelle, can I have a roll call, please?
Sure. Joe,
Here.
Cindy,
Here.
Pam,
Here.
Jeremy,
Here.
Sue,
Here.
Gary,
Here.
Nancy.
Here.
Next agenda item is the prior minutes from April 13th.
I move we accept the prior minutes.
Support.
We have a motion support. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none. Need a roll call, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Nancy.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Next item is the treasurer's report. Madam Chair, or Madam Treasurer, please.
Included in your packets is the treasurer's report that shows a balance of $7,400,753.59 among all of the different funds and accounts. I do, Joe, at this point, just want to add that we've had discussions about revenue sharing and what to expect in the next year or two, of which nobody really has a solid clue. The best I'm getting from the state at this point is somewhere between 15 and 20% drop. So those are the numbers that, we have to look at this point in time. But nobody really has a clue as to how exact anything is going to be at this point. So
I can add that in discussion with Fletcher Spears this morning, he acknowledged that they feel that there's a potential for the schools to lose money in this particular budget year, which ends June 30th. So it'll impact us all the way through. And included in your treasurer's report is an audit that we need to approve separately.
right. Okay.
So the audit doesn't require approval. It's just something for her to present.
Right.
Oh, so
Yeah, there's no action item.
Yeah.
okay. Sorry.
We went through the auditing process, did a Zoom meeting and got the final audit. We look good. Everything looks fine. If anybody's got questions, let us know. We're happy to do it, but that's your 2019 final audit for the board, for the township.
It looks good.
My only concern is what was mentioned about the senior center.
about the potential for, yeah.
Yes.
That's something that, believe me, Sherry brings up to Bruce often.
Is there
There's
something
no-
that we have planned for the future to address this? Because it's only going
I-
to get worse,
The
especially
potential-
next year, I'm sure.
Yeah, the potential exists. It's going to be interesting when they get done, Nancy, as far as where the funds are going to come from. You know,
Yes.
the distribution of the county. And I've had several talks with Lynn Ratzlowski, and she said that, like you said, we'll just have to let it play out and make a determination at that point. But when we start working on the budget, and Sherry does effectively in September, I think we'll probably have more information then, or I hope we do.
Can I ask a question in regards to the outstanding mortgage? How long do we have left on that?
Are you talking about on the senior center?
Yes.
Okay. On the senior center, if I'm not mistaken, is it 5 years, Michelle? Do you happen to know off the top of your head? I don't know. I can get that from you tomorrow, for you tomorrow, but I think it's probably close to that.
For some reason, Joe, I wanted to say that it wasn't too long after the fire station was paid off. So I'm wanting to say it's probably only a year or two.
Okay, and the fire station's paid off this year. So if you're right, then probably, Nancy, 2022, but we'll get a definitive answer or definite
Okay.
answer.
Well,
Okay.
then if that's the case, then it won't be as bad as the audit letter lets on or
Well-
implies, only because, well, it could be, but I was
One
just
doesn't
concerned with
impact
the
the
numbers
other, though,
increasing
Nancy.
like they were. Excuse me?
Yeah, but one doesn't impact the other. One is a bill that we have,
Correct.
you know, and the unfortunate part is it doesn't hinder the contribution. The county is the contribution, and we've said all along, I think, Nancy, you're recalling the conversation we've had, that we're not into subsidizing it.
Correct.
That you're referring to, right?
Yes.
And we've made that comment to Bruce, and it's well taken. And I appreciate your bringing it up, because it is something.
Nancy, one thing, let me remind you that we're trying to do is find different grant monies, and we were able to actually get transportation grant money this year that has helped ease up a little bit with the van and the mileage and gas and stuff for the van. So we're searching for different pockets that we can potentially use to ease up on the expenses of that budget. In fact, I believe we just got a check for over 2,000 on that first quarter of the grant. So that helps somewhat. We're looking in every nook and cranny
Right.
that we possibly can.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions on Treasurer's report or the audit?
So, Sherry is, our deputy treasurer is on the live feed, and she just sent a message, 2022 is when the senior center loan is payable.
Okay, good.
Right.
So Cindy, you're right in those couple of years. Thanks, Sherry. Next, we have the building report. And for those of you that are not aware, well, I'm sure everybody is aware, the governor opened up building reconstruction or construction again to commence on May 7th. And since that time, we've had an onslaught of permits and requests, all good, because up until that time, we had absolutely no activity.
Right.
So that's on the, in fact, Michelle and I talked today about the planning commission potentially having their first meeting by Zoom. We weren't sure, I wasn't sure, when it was, but I'm sure it's soon, because they want to start construction on another project. So all good news.
Will it be this month or will we start next month?
I thought it was going to be this month, and
Because
I
it
know
should be
Dennis
next
was going to
Monday.
get, yeah,
When is the next one supposed to be?
Monday.
Nancy? So Dennis could get that over to the Herald notification over tomorrow. It would go on Wednesdays, and that would be sufficient to notify that it's going virtual, since it's a normal meeting. And Joe, I can help Dennis with that if you'd like. Just have him give me a call tomorrow at home.
okay, I'll make a note.
Okay.
Thank you. We're anxious to get that moving. Okay, next we got the senior report, and we've looked at it. Bruce has managed to stay pretty busy. He's in there on a one-man show. And looking at the report, it has highlighted a couple of things, that he's feeding between 11 and 17 people per day. Most of the food on G card is fresh or frozen, prepared out of our kitchen there. He's been assisting with some of the other Q boxes for seniors who requested them. I don't know what a Q box is.
That was going to be my question, Joe. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I have no idea. The commodity distribution was interesting because he called me on that. And the boxes were all loaded up in the back of the bus and people masked up and delivered them. They're looking at potentially doing that in the future. And then Bruce let me know that he's been doing odd projects around there because technically the senior center is, although it's open, you aren't allowed in there.
No.
So he's been doing painting and repairs. And anyway, any questions on the senior report?
Yes, in regards to the senior center, when they finally open this, are there plans for any precautions are going to be taken?
One of the comments in my discussion with Lynn Radzlowski, because I made this comment similar to what your comment was about the budget, that if there are upgrades like we did within the township, who's going to pay for them? Is it something that they're going to redirect money from the budget, or is it some money like you were talking about? Do we have to pay for it? So that's a question we're looking to get answered, but it's a good question you have. How can they open up, and how is social distancing going to work?
Right.
So I know that Lynn is working from home and in contact constantly with the commissioners. So. Any other questions on the senior report? Okay, next is the Bda report. And just to let everybody know that we had a special meeting last week to reopen the Bda, but as of right now, although it may be open, our current employee is on vacation. Sports complex, sir.
So we had a meeting a week ago, and we have another meeting in a week. We're meeting like every 2 weeks. We're following the governor's 2-week extensions discussion, trying to figure out what's going to happen there. 2 things that have officially happened is we lost our spring flag football. And we lost our spring AYSO season. Baseball is in limbo, but most likely not going to play, depending on what happens in the next 2 weeks, and that season usually goes from June through the end of July. And don't know what's going to happen there unless somehow they change the provisions. That, of course, is led, as I've discussed several times. I think that towards the end of this year, we should discuss, when we start doing budgets, we need to really discuss how committed Vienna Township is to us having a sports complex there, because I think operating costs are definitely tough. Rec sports participation is down. However, with that being said, there is a pretty strong board there. We've done some improvements. One thing's active right now is we have that one building, the AYSO concession stand building with pavilion that's out in the southwest corner of the property. That building was basically totaled by winter freeze water, underground water that raised the building up out of the ground. And we have been granted a claim against the insurance to do something with that building. It can either be, I think the claim was somewhere in the neighborhood of $50,000. They've already deposited the money, the insurance company, to the township. And our board's going to meet next week to discuss. We were intending on making they could have a functional concession stand. But given the fact that this year's revenues may be virtually zero, We're going to meet next week and discuss whether we should minimize the rebuild and just petition to optimize that. Obviously, the building will have to be torn down and all the utilities, whether we put a pavilion or something. We're going to meet to see what we can come up with for a suggestion. And then we'll have to talk to Joe and figure out how to proceed with that from there.
Okay. Any other questions for Jeremy? What's a shame, Jeremy, is you guys put a lot of hard work into this year, and to no fault of anything else, you know, it's like everything. It's got to put on the side burner. So, okay, Supervisors Report. A couple things to report. Number one, the bidding process for the senior center grass cutting was done inappropriately, and the previous contract that we had remains the same as it was in the past. And it's our opinion at this point to minimize any problems that we may have and go ahead with letting the previous contractor cut the grass and make sure the bidding process for 2021 is done correctly. At this particular time, I'd also like to shout out to Cindy, Michelle, and Sherry for working so hard in this past election. I know that the clerk and the deputy clerk put so much time involved with the changes that the Secretary of State initiated. So it's interesting. You've done such a hard work, and we were very successful. I'm not talking about the outcome of the election, but in how you transformed a virtual, and that virtual is a bad word, isn't it? This is a virtual meeting, but an election. It wasn't a virtual election. You made the election work, so thank you. Any questions for the supervisor? Good. I don't have any either. Michelle, any additions or changes to the agenda?
There are none.
Correspondence.
There's only one piece of correspondence for tonight. It's from the State of Michigan Public Service Commission regarding a public hearing.
Okay. And is it normal? Did they already have the public hearing and they notified us afterwards?
May 13th, so.
Oh, okay. Close.
days.
Yeah, sometimes we get them the day after. Okay. Public comment. I believe we had some public comment.
We do. If I can ask everyone to go on mute, I'll call in and get the Ron Belil is going to be speaking. So we'll get him on.
Hello.
Hi, Ron. This is Shelley with Vienna Township. You're on for public comment. I just need you to start with your name and address, and then you can proceed.
Okay, thank you. Ron Belil, 11165 North Webster Road. I'd just like to address some of these recent tax increases that we've had so far in 2020. These tax increases have to stop. I'm close to the point I can't afford to live in Vienna Township anymore. In the 20 years that I've lived at my current address, my property taxes have doubled from $2,400 annually to roughly $4,800 annually, if you include these last two villages. So on top of my house payment, I still have to pay $400 a month just in property taxes. That doesn't count insurance or utilities. Just as an example, last year we had a countywide cultural art tax that just got approved on a whim that tagged me for $115. So far this year, we've had two approved millage requests, one for Mott Community College and then a special Clio school millage. And if you add those two together, they're going to tag me for another $500 on my annual property tax bill. Since Walmart and other businesses have come in, they've requested and received large tax reductions and or deferments while putting an increased demand on our police, fire, and ambulance services. If businesses like Walmart want to be here, they need to pay their fair share of taxes, because eventually those of us that pay these taxes will move elsewhere and leave the township with nothing but apartments and trailer parks that don't generate the tax needed to operate. One suggestion would be the elimination of all property taxes and the implementation of an all-inclusive sales tax through the income generated by singling out property owners. Alternatively, we could change the rules about voting for millage requests so that only people that actually pay property taxes, i.e. property owners, are allowed to vote on implementing any property taxes. Special millage elections should not be allowed. Special millage elections should be illegal. Clive's school district is shrinking to the point they are closing schools, and our football program is one of the worst in the state. Yet the Clive School Administration pushed a special millage election outside of the normal election schedule for the sole purpose of packing the ballots so that, among other excesses, they get to install an AstroTurf football field. And seriously? Last thing, I'm looking at your board packet item under the Treasurer's Report labeled 2019 Audit, Letter to the Board of Trustees. On that item, second item down are the general fund. I see that your senior center is operating at a deficit. I really hope you're not going to ask for any additional tax money to operate the senior center. I support your senior center. They do a wonderful job, but I'm tapped out. You're going to have to look for funding elsewhere. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Ron. We have no other public comment. We'll go to new business. And under new business, we have, first item is blight mowing. And just to give everybody a quick rundown, our blight mowing has been done for the last 7 years by a different company. And this was something that we all inherited. There is no actual contract this year. They advised us that they would be increasing the cost. As soon as they do that, it triggers a mechanism for an RFP. And we're in the process of doing it now. And the reason I'm standing in front of you or sitting in front of you is that I'd like the opportunity to send this out, knowing full well that if we make a proposal today to accept the, I'm not going to say the low bid, but the, what was the term, Michelle? Help me. The, I cut you
Are
off.
you asking? Yeah, you were going to ask for a motion to approve the lowest responsible bidder, not to exceed the increase of our current contractor.
Yeah.
So we won't go above what the current contractors proposing with their increase, but we do need to go out because they've put an increase in.
Yeah, thank you. Responsible was the word I was looking for. So I'm asking for the opportunity to send this out for bids. And then once we get them back, to make the determination prior to the next meeting to take the first and lowest responsible bid within the parameters that we've just set forth. Make sense? I hope.
So moved.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Is there any discussion?
What is
How
the
much?
amount?
I'm sorry, the two people talked at the same time.
Go ahead.
How much was the increase this year?
$5 a cut. The part that
On what was the base price?
well, it varies, Jeremy, because at this particular time, it could be 1 acre, half an acre, it could be brush mowing. So we've not been definitive. This time we'll be a little more definitive in the contract. So the opportunity will exist that anybody that looks at it will know what's going on, really.
I'm assuming that we have an average cut must be somewhere in the $30 to $100 range.
$55 has been the average cut on a normal lawn. The requirement that we have is that they put it back as if you cut it yourself. It means trimming, picking up the grass, etc. We then, once we get this blight mowing, we then tax or at least attempt to recover the funds from the property owner. One of the other comments that people may not be aware of is that we continue cutting it without notification every 2 weeks, and of course charging for it at that time. So it's a reimbursement type bid. We're not always guaranteed that we get the funds back. I mean, when I say that, you know, maybe the house is abandoned at the end. So
Do we
Any other
currently know how many houses or properties are being mowed?
well, at this time this year, none.
Yeah,
In the
change it,
past
but
years,
yes.
yeah. In the past years, I think we've dumped upwards of 15.
Not as bad as I thought it would be.
It can vary.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Any other questions? If not, I need a roll call, please.
Cindy,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Carrie,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, the next is the CDBG. And Cindy, can you help me with that a little bit, please?
Well, every year we need to, or every couple of years, we have to sign an agreement with Genesee County, the Community Development Block Grant. It's a cooperative agreement. And what this does is it allows us to receive and use funds like we've used for Liberty Street. This year it'll be buying the senior center van, the fire or smoke detectors, to be able to use that money. This cooperative agreement gives us that ability to stay in that program, and they have to have that on file. So
Okay.
it's just more of a formality than anything. So
So you're putting that in the form of a motion for us?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution 05-11-20-08, the Community Development Block Grant Cooperative Agreement for the period of 2021 through 2023.
Support.
And we have a motion and support. And Carrie and Sue both chimed in at the same time, Michelle.
Whoops.
Any discussion on that at all? We've seen some great things happen with CDBG funds, and Cindy, you've done a good job at administering those for us. If there's no questions, then I'll ask for a roll call.
Sue,
Yes.
Carrie,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, since I dropped something on my paper here, is the next thing public comment again?
There are
Yes.
no other public comments.
Yeah, so there isn't any other. And next we have board comment. And, in tradition, Carrie, do you have anything to add?
No, I do not. I'm good. Thank you.
Nancy?
No, I'm good.
Pam?
Nope, I'm good.
Jeremy?
Nope.
Sue?
Yes, I'd like to make a comment about the library, if I may. The pod room, the door, we were having the door repaired or replaced. It has been replaced and it is completed now. Now our task is to fill the pod room for any recording. And we have actually applied for 2 more grants for the maker space. And at the moment, I have no information on those grants, but we are working on them.
And Roy's been keeping us pretty close to up to date on those things. That's nice.
Okay.
Cindy Bryan?
Yeah, I've got a couple of things actually. The first, and I know Joe, you thanked a few of us, but this May election was something that I could have never in my wildest imaginations dreamed of. But with the help of Shelley and Sherry and the office staff that worked, and Joe that worked the AV counting board, it went off, in my opinion, as smoothly as possible. We mailed out 4,000 ballots, and mind you, we have 10,000, I think 500 registered voters. We mailed out 4,000 ballots and received 3,500 back.
Good.
Which is, we're looking at, well over 35% return, which is almost unheard of for a school election. But I am so thankful to have the workers that I had, because it was truly helpful, and everybody that did help. And the other thing I'd like to say is, there was a day a couple of weeks ago, you may have read it in the paper, where Jimmy John's and Birch Run and a couple of the franchises down in the Detroit area furnished subs for all the essential workers. And Luke from Jimmy John's and Birch Run brought subs into the township for what workers we had and for the sheriff's department. So Shelley and I thought, hey, let's call the guy up, tell him thank you. And for our appreciation, order subs for our AV counting board because we have to feed them, because once they get in that room, they can't go anywhere. So we called and thanked him, and he was so nice. He wasn't opening up until Wednesday, but he said, for you, I will open up on Tuesday and I will furnish your lunch. And we said, no, we want to pay for it. That's our way of saying thank you. And he said, nope, I'm not, you're not paying for it. So he brought all of the AV counting board subs and chips and cookies, and I just want to give him a big shout out because that was just a really nice gesture on his part. So, and I believe he's trying to get a Jimmy John's here in Clio. So, but yeah, thank you so much to them because that was a nice gesture. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Cindy. Michelle, do you have anything to add?
No.
Thank you for inviting us into your home tonight, Michelle.
In your big chair.
I can't tell you what it's like to have a working relationship with the staff that we have in this board. So thank you all. And with that, I bid you adieu. And Michelle, thank you. I'll give Dennis a call in the morning and let him know that you'll be available to help.
Okay.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night, folks.
Thank you,
Stay
guys.
safe.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.